I know it has been a very long time since I had uploaded here on FlashThemes, but I do want to start off by saying, at one point, I did try to explain why I quit, but the problem was, of course, that I hadn't had anything else to say in that matter in the most understandable way. I will have to try my best to explain why I decided to quit grounded videos. You guys don't want to forget what I had written down in the beginning of the video. I think it's been 10 years now, and I think I should try to explain a lot of things, of course. So the reason why I quit grounded videos is because, in my opinion, at the time, the genre was not maturing at all, and it became overtly popular for the GoLegacy anime community. So for the longest time, I wanted to desperately try and escape that category of video making to make fan fiction movies, and all of them failed, which is rather unfortunate, but to me, those videos didn't mature because it was becoming over the top. At some point a category needs to take risks to find something new and ways to deconstruct it. So I think early on the community probably wasn't ready for that deconstruction at the time, and I think that was unfortunate. Years passed by, I think it did find a footing at last. But even though the deconstruction worked as of late, it just wasn't enough for me to bring back the category. I do believe in general, it is a curse, and it has always been. If you were around in the mid-2010s, you probably had no idea how fucking bad it was, the KIU phenomenon, and that we struggled to adapt and keep up with the trend. Also, it was bad because Punishment Day became terrifying and unhinged. It was becoming child abuse within the video. When you look at the video now, you probably felt bad for him. So of course I did, because sometimes shit like that happens in real life. It may sound exaggerated, but that's how things are when there is no sense of security, hope and freedom. The worst deconstruction I ever did was Eric. If you remember the Eric Gets Grounded for Infinity Years, of course you knew that video ultimately resulted in me stopping this. The best deconstruction, however, was Brian. You see, I really enjoyed the character, and at the time, this was me being young, but I always thought Eric was, to be fair, So this was long before I had to connect with others online, and when I was young I just couldn't take kindly to being famous. I think that has had a really tough influence on me. Being shoehorned for grounded videos must have been absolute nightmare, because you could be known for that category forever and some won't accept you being known for something else. And being boxed in is like a mutual problem between creators. People just don't want to do the same thing forever. When they try to go different, it doesn't make the views grow big. I've had that happen to me before when I left GoAnimate in 2016. That felt like an eternity as I had remembered that event, and I had nothing else, just myself, but there's more. You see, throughout the years I was not okay mentally and at times needed to be away from the keyboard because it was just too tough on me. I've got so much better since then, yes. But I used to admit how terrible I was a friend and that I was a bit complicated to deal with. I think I am glad I have matured and grown up, and I still appreciate that moment. By the time I went on FlashThemes, I did not want to make grounded videos. I had Brian Rocky and Eric Tangerine as a new set of characters I had to create, which was good. I didn't want to rule them out by making it grounded videos. It was simply a drama series with a mixture of many things I can think of, but the best concept was simply, making these characters university graduates. To me, grounded videos are more reserved for the characters who range between 4 to 17 years old, and that was a better take from me. I've had very few offers of collaborations, but I said no to that, because that was a choice I get to make, and plus I am just too different to make grounded videos again. And quitting was pretty much an ultimatum, meant that I was maturing and wanted to do something else, and that should be a good thing. Being boxed in is tough, trust me, it sucks. While I am glad the grounded videos have been deconstructed so far, I will admit it just needs to find its step into maturity because we want characters to have their own arc. Like, simply, a very proper arc, and I am glad people are still making videos like that. The Eric video I saw from GoLegacy, which, credit to him, was the best thing I ever saw. So he did a lot better than I ever have. The only best thing about my deconstruction from before, despite its flaws, was that I wanted Brian to be something else different. But the worst deconstruction was how I handled Eric. And I know it sounds tough, but when you're young and didn't like him, maybe that was how it was for me at the time, initially. So really, I am glad with what I got now. Brian Rucky and Eric Tangerine, and their relationships. It became an important thing to mention, because it was different. Even though at the end of the day, my Brian Rucky or Eric Tangerine videos won't grow a lot of views, I am sure it will eventually find its following. That's fine for how it is. But I am still glad I grown up along with my work, and very proud to mention that I am glad with what I got because it was my story to begin with, and sometimes, we start off slow. We don't start off good either. You really also have to understand that we get to start somewhere, and that's life at the fullest. Anyway, that confirms why I quit grounded videos. By the way, if I do eventually come back to grounded videos, it won't be right away at all, but only when I decide if I do feel like going back to make them again. But the time will just have to be right. But if I was going to make grounded videos, it may need to be for, like I said, characters who are in school, and plus, abuse is not needed. And I think we should always continue to refine our work because that is what makes it necessary for it to adapt and to evolve over time. Because I must mention one more thing. It's important, because if our work survives, which I have no doubt it will probably, then it will be because it is a good thing no matter how you see it through your point of view. Anyway, that's all. Have a good day, guys, and take care. I'll be back later, someday. Bye.